Meeting. We do have a quorum for tonight. However, neither the chair nor the vice chair is present to preside over this meeting. So in this circumstance, the board members that are present will need to elect the chair to lead and ensure that this meeting will run efficiently. So the first order of business is to elect the chair. Can I get a motion, a second, and a vote?
I'd like to make a motion to elect David Jackson as our acting chair.
I'll second.
And those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Can I abstain or object? All right, thank you all for being here. I'm going to go ahead and call us to order. This is a regular design review board meeting of the City of Milton. I am David Jackson, and this is a 7-member board appointed by the City of Milton, Mayor, and Council, created for the purpose of holding public hearings and making recommendations. The Design Review Board reviews building and LDP plans and makes recommendations to the Community Development Director for the developments, except for single-family residential in the form-based code and overlay districts. In addition, the Design Review Board approves or denies demolition requests and makes recommendations to the Board of Zoning Appeals on variance requests and the Planning Commission for use permit and rezoning requests. Everybody rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll start off introducing the members.
Samia Coker, Cheltenham Walk.
Celeste Jackson, Saddle Springs Drive.
David Jackson, Bethany Way.
Ann Danella, Haybridge Lane.
Jacqueline, Planner 2.
Rima Abdel Fattah, Zoning Technician.
Michael Cardeman, Senior Planner.
Thank you all. Now, we need to approve the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Ms. Danella and a second from Ms. Jackson. Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your hand.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimous. All right, next item is the approval of last month's minutes. Can I get a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last month on June 4th.
I second.
All right, we've got a motion from Ms. Jackson and a second from Ms. Coker. Is there any discussion? All in favor? None opposed? Passes unanimous. Now, bear with me. This is my first time running a meeting.
Doing great.
All right, so going to demolition. Is that right, Jackie? All right, sounds good. Going to demolition.
Board. First demolition permit for your review tonight is 1105 Birmingham Road. Some general information. Okay, so the address is 1105 Birmingham Road. It's 24.6 acres, zoned AG1. It's in the rural Milton overlay, the Birmingham character area. Existing use is currently residential, and the primary home on this lot was built in 1973. There is a request to demolish the existing house, pool house, barn, stable, shed, and asphalt driveway. This is an aerial view. This is the site plan. Here's some structure photos. This is the main house to be demolished. This is a view from all sides. This is the pool house. And here is the barn / horse stable. Some information. There was a variance permit application at this address seeking 2 variances, which has been approved at last month's BZA meeting. One of the variances was to allow an existing barn, which you can see here in red, to be located closer than 100 feet to your property line. And then the second variance was to allow an existing accessory structure, which is in blue, to be located in front of the primary structure. And this site is not located in a flood hazard area. And here is the criteria for approving a demolition permit, which you are all mostly familiar with. So our recommendations are to approve the demolition per the site plan with the following comments: complete a demo permit application, show tree safe fence or silt fence. If not used, water, well, and or septic must be capped properly, and then disturbed and exposed soil must be leveled and permanently grassed. And none of these structures are listed in the Georgia History Resources Survey or Milton's Historic Survey list. Okay, any questions for staff?
I think so. We've seen this one before.
Okay, so the applicant is here, Mr. Scott Reese. So if
Mr. Interim Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese, Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia 30004. Here tonight representing the Gianturco Reed family in their application to demolish the structures on their horse farm, part of their bigger family compound. Their intent is to build a new house in approximately the location of the existing primary residence. We got the variances to allow the better of the barn stables to remain. The other one has some structural issues. We're going to go ahead and take it down. The pool house, the pool was removed some years back. It's just kind of using it as a storage structure now. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. That way we can go ahead and proceed with the site plan for the individual residents to rebuild. So as I'm sure you saw in their photos, none of these structures have any architectural, social, structural, any kind of significance that would make them want to be, why you would want to keep them in the neighborhood. So that being said, I will be glad to answer any questions if you have them. Otherwise, thank you.
Have any questions? Any questions for staff? Is there any public comment?
no, there are none.
Is there any? That's it. Huh. Yeah, discussion of the application thing.
So they had a variance and they're keeping that?
Yeah, this was from
Last month.
last month.
Okay.
We recommended Board of Zoning to,
And that was approved.
Keep one of them and they want to demo
Yeah.
one of them
Okay.
with everything else.
Okay.
any discussion?
No,
Yep.
it's pretty straightforward.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 5A as stated on the application. Do I say with the staff's recommendations?
I'll second.
Yeah. All right, I have a motion from Ms. Delilah and a second from Ms. Jackson. Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, none opposed, it passes unanimous. All right, next one.
Next demolition permit is 15585 Freemanville Road. It's 50.91 acres, zoned AG1 in the rural Milton overlay in central Milton. Existing use is residential, and the request is to demolish the existing pole barn and sheds. And here is the aerial view. And the site plan that highlights the structures to be demolished. Structure photos of the sheds. And the pole barn. So some supplemental information. The preliminary plat for the Blakely Manor subdivision was approved in April 2024. The subdivision will consist of 36 single-family homes with a density of 0.72 units per acre, and this property is not located within a flood hazard zone. The criteria for approving a demolition permit you are all familiar with. So staff recommendations are to approve the demolition per the site plan with the following comments: complete a demo permit application, show tree-safe fence or silt fence. If not used, water well and/or septic must be capped properly, and then any disturbed and exposed soil must be leveled and permanently grassed. And none of these structures are on the Georgia History Resources Survey or Milton's Historic Survey list. Questions for staff?
I don't think so.
Okay, the applicant, Mr. Scott Reese, is here if you have any questions for him. Any questions for?
Anybody have any questions?
No? Okay.
Do you want to present again?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I'm Scott Reese of Brumlow Reese and Associates, doing business at 13685 Highway 9, Milton, Georgia 30004. Here tonight representing the Chatham companies in their application to remove these structures. This was a former hunting camp. We've got these non-conforming structures. They would be too close to the property lines and they don't meet Milton standards at this time. So the land disturbance permit has been approved for the subdivision. So in the development of the subdivision in anticipation of the construction and the final platting at that time, we need to remove these structures. Once again, due to the photos and the background from the city, there are no architectural, historical, structural, commercial, social benefits to retaining these structures. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to try to answer those. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Is there any opposition?
We have none.
Okay. Yes, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve item 5B, demolition of 15585 Freemanville Road.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Ms. Jackson and a second from Ms. Coker. Is there any discussion? No? All in favor, raise your hand. All right, that one passes unanimous. All right, let's move on to courtesy reviews.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Emily Schnari. I'm a planner here at the city, and tonight I'm going to talk to you about the courtesy review for a rezoning case, which is also looking at a use permit along with concurrent variances. As a reminder, this is a courtesy review, and we compile your comments and work them into our staff report, which we then take to Planning Commission later this month. So just to sum up the request, the applicant is Sapient Minds LLC, also known as the Milton Montessori School, which is located over on Bethany Bend, kind of over near the McGinnis Ferry interchange, that side of town. They currently own and operate the Milton Montessori School to the south of the subject site. So these two properties, I'm going to show you a map soon, I promise, but the two properties directly adjoin. They opened in 2008 and have since expanded multiple times. This proposed expansion is looking to add about 160 students ages 5 to 14. You may think that this area sounds a little bit familiar because back in December of 2023, we actually looked at the property immediately to the north for a rezoning case for those 13 single-family homes.
I don't think any of us were here.
Oh, never mind.
Sorry.
The design review board looked at it and they did get approved. So that's what's going on the property immediately to the north, which I will point out. So the formal request is to rezone from townhouse residential with a senior living use permit to O&I, which is office institutional. And then this would come with a use permit to develop a private school. They're looking at 24,000 square feet with a total of 160 students and then some associated outdoor activity areas. There are also 3 concurrent variances with this request. I'll kind of explain them, and then when we look at the site plan, I'll kind of show you where some of these variances are going to come in. So the first one is to delete the 20-foot side setback along the south property line. Because their two properties abut each other, the current school and this proposed new school, they want to delete that side setback so that they can connect some of that infrastructure there. This is a variance for the Article 5 of the Unified Development Code, which is the O&I zoning. They also would like to delete the 10-foot landscape strip along that south property line. This is in regards to the State Route 9 overlay district. Same property line on that south side, just because of the way that the building is put in there. And then also they're requesting to reduce the sidewalk width along Bethany Bend within the city right-of-way from 6 feet to 5 feet. This is something that's required by the 6 feet sidewalk is required by the State Route 9 overlay district. However, our Public Works Department has since commented that they would require this to have a 10-foot multi-use path instead as part of the Milton Capital Project program that they've been working on, which they're expecting to begin construction next year. So this is a site map. As you can see, there's 2 parcels here, and this parcel to the south that I'm kind of wiggling the cursor around is the current Montessori school. And then that parcel immediately to the north is that one that I talked about that just got that rezoning case. So those are going to be 12 single-family homes. Like I mentioned, it is in the State Route 9 overlay district, so it is subject to those development standards as well, which is why we're seeing some of those variances come through on that. The current zoning, like I mentioned, is townhome residential, but it's immediately next to, like I said, the Montessori school, which is currently zoned to O&I. Basically, the property currently has a use permit for a senior living home that would basically be revoked by this use permit. At the time of approval in 2008, it was for a total of 98 for sale property or units. The applicant is requesting the rezoning and the revocation of the senior use permit, and then the approval of the private school use permit along with the rezoning. This is the site plan which we received on June 28th, 2024. And this is where you can see those variances kind of coming in on that south property line, because like to keep with the continuity between the north piece and the south piece where the school currently is. They also have some floodplains in the back, which has caused the building to be put in this corner, which is part of the reason for some of those variances as well. To the north, you can see some of their activity areas and then their parking. And they have also submitted a traffic study, which has looked at the different ways that the pickup and drop-offs will circulate throughout the property. I think you guys saw 2 existing structures for this property at last month's design review board meeting. They have already received their certificate of appropriateness for the demolition, and they're working on getting their demolition permit, but there are 2 structures on the property. Now we just have some pictures of the site just to give you guys an idea of where you're at. So this is the roundabout. One side of the roundabout is Forsyth County and the other side is Milton, which is where our subject site is. And there is that kind of connector piece between the current school and where the proposed expansion would be. And more pictures from the roundabout. We have received some concept elevations. As a reminder, this would come back to you guys for a formal design review board review when they are ready to submit this. So these are just preliminary, but we kind of wanted to give you guys an idea of what it would look like. So here's some concept elevations. We have some in color. But yeah, this would come back before you before anything final is decided, but just to kind of give an idea of what it could look like. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for today. The applicant is here if you guys have any questions, and we can answer any other questions from staff that you might have.
Can I ask a quick question
Yeah.
about the side setback?
Yeah.
If they were to combine those parcels together, would they even need a side setback variance?
So we already discussed that with the applicant. We asked him to do that, but because you can confirm it with him if you'd like, but he is acquiring a small business administration loan, and he needed to keep the 2 properties separate to be able to complete the loan for the new property. So we already asked the question. It would have been a little bit easier, yes.
Questions?
You guys want to hear from the applicant? Or do you feel?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah.
Good evening.
Hello again.
Well, I just want to give you.
Would you mind introducing
Yes, sure.
yourself?
My name
Your
is
address?
Biju Epen, 3505 Bethany Bend, Milton, Georgia. Just want to give you a little bit of my history and what the purpose, what I'm going to do. So just to have a couple of minutes, just want to talk about that. In 2007, I was looking for a quality Montessori school for my children. Most places we visited were traditional daycare facilities. We were ideally looking for a Montessori school that nurtures creativity, social skills, emotional intelligence, and a strong academic foundation. Since I didn't find a school that met these needs, I decided to start my own Montessori school. This also allowed me to embark on an entrepreneurial journey, something which I wanted to do for a long time. In spite of the economy going down due to the financial crisis of 2008, we worked hard to build a top quality program for our student community. With my own children enrolled as the first 2 students and my wife as the director, Milton Montessori opened the doors for its 1,200 square feet facility on the cold January morning in 2008. Within a few years, we were full, and we finished the downstairs level to add more classrooms. We maxed out again just a year later, primarily due to loyal parents who trusted us with their children. In 2014, we purchased the adjacent property and built a bigger facility that included elementary grade classrooms. In 2021, we finished the upper level of the facility that is also now close to full capacity. Our organic growth over the past decade and more is primarily through word of mouth. We constantly strive to refine and adapt our programs to the market needs by hiring high quality staff and top-notch equipments. Our school also have large play area our students use. This is something you can never find in other local preschools. Several of our parents whose kids have been with us for 5 years or more have observed the positive growth and development in their children and have been requesting us to add elementary and middle school so their children can continue being part of our school community. This is the reason I'm standing in front of you today. We purchased our adjacent property last year and intend to build a brand new facility for elementary and middle school students. We also plan to add 2 tennis courts and a rustic barn and more extracurricular activities that will make our graduates more well-rounded. What I have learned from my 16 years of being a part of Milton Montessori is if you love what you do, constantly adapting and refining your products to best meet needs of customers, there is no limit to how far you can go. Thank you. At this point, any questions you have, please?
Hey, you have
I
any
have my
questions?
engineer and architect here as well.
Excellent. So the side setback makes a lot of sense to me. Can somebody point out the 10-foot landscape strip that we're second request is referring to?
It would be right here where that corner of the building's going to be.
So right now, the city requires that landscape strip?
As part of the Highway 9 overlay
Oh, okay.
district, basically because of the floodplain and the way that the lots work together, they're just requesting to not have that landscape strip there.
Is there room for landscaping on that side?
Yeah, the picture you can show.
There's currently some landscaping there already.
Because it's going to go against the side of the existing building, right?
No, there's going to be a gap.
Well, if you look at that building, the entrance is going to be on the side where the landscape strip is. That's where the entrance. It's not against the Bethany Bend. So landscape will be there.
So the 20-foot variance is right where your cursor is right now, correct?
The 20-foot is on this subject property, so it would be going this way. That would be the 20-foot setback typically. But
That's the 20-foot side setback?
But you are the owner of the adjacent property,
Exactly.
correct?
Yes.
So you're just combining both
without
technically.
combining.
Okay.
And then
Why is that not the rear setback?
Because of the frontage.
because you take it from Bethany Bend. So it's the side. And there is landscaping in this hole. This is their parking lot. So that is what is in that little blue area, is what is in this picture right here.
That south property line is, you have the frontage along Bethany Bend, and sides are perpendicular to the street. And then usually we have multiple sides, but that's considered a side, even though you feel like sides. But we look at geometry instead of what makes sense to our eyes. So that's how we
Okay.
can be.
And then where would the 5-foot sidewalk be? Can you point that out?
It's going to be in this
This one.
area.
Yeah, orange one, yeah.
It's
just
a
along
long
the road.
Bethany Bend.
Yeah.
So it's just like it's the public sidewalk that's required. It's not internal sidewalk, it's sidewalk within the right of way, which developers are required to improve a piece of property.
And per the ordinance, it's 6 feet requirement, but then it's going up to 10 feet for the 2025.
Correct, so, the overlay district just would require 6 foot and 5 foot because it's about 700 to 800 frontage. It's a very large frontage, but once we ask for comments from the various departments and Public Works, as I've stated, it's in work plan to do. And it already is under construction on Mr. Bijou's property to the south. And it's to stop it and then just have this 10-foot out to nowhere.
So right now, he's currently building a
It's-
5-foot?
It's not currently built, but it's, I believe that right of way.
A little bit of size, yes.
So, but they will be constructing it in 2020.
Okay.
So 10-foot wide trail along the southern property line where his existing. So this would be of that trail,
And how wide is that trail?
10 feet.
Okay.
So the 10-foot trail eventually would replace the 5-foot wide?
Well, I think they want it to be that it won't be about replacing something, but when he gets all of it, he would. Got that information after he requested the variance, so.
Gotcha.
Okay. And then somewhere it said that across the street, the sidewalk was 3 foot wide
Yes.
currently?
Across the street.
Did I read that correctly?
Well, that's for site.
Yeah.
plan. It's a whole different jurisdiction.
Gotcha.
Okay.
We have 3 there, this is going to be 5 this side. Both sides have it, yes.
Okay.
But are you agreeable to 10-foot?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
So I mean, that's something
Okay.
that he has to work out with the Public Works Department,
Right.
but we wanted to be able to give you that information.
Right.
To be transparent, that, so like in 3 or 4 months and you hear, oh, well, Public Works is saying 10 feet, why did they only came for 5 feet? Let you know about.
Thank you.
The new subdivision coming, how much they are doing, 5 feet or 6 feet?
We
13
would
feet.
have, I'd have to check.
Okay. I think they're doing 5 too, I'm not 100%.
When I spoke to the transportation engineer today, he said that the trail plan only went up to the edge of your property,
This one, 5?
the edge of this property. So it wouldn't carry up to the,
No, not me, but this is where the building is. going.
right, but
New-
it sounded like that trail plan stopped after your property.
Yeah, I will do until my property, yeah.
So that's something we can work out with between
Okay.
the applicant and, but that's not really your responsibility.
Right.
I just wanted, we wanted. The request.
Thank you. Yeah, because this is a courtesy review.
Yes.
And so we're just
Again,
making
that was one of the
recommendations.
things. If you all have done a courtesy review yet,
Mhm.
with rezonings or use, obviously, we're not really asking for your opinion on the land use, but more on the design and the layout, et cetera. We really appreciate Mr. Bijou forethought in bringing at least some version of the building so that you can have like what the other building looked like.
Mhm.
Some consistency out the property.
But just because I feel like sometimes we get ahead of ourselves, this review is not for the building, right?
No.
It's for these, to delete the 20-foot side setback, the 10-foot landscape, and the sidewalk, right?
Well, I mean, it's more for the general layout. I mean, right, you're right. It's not for the building specifically, but if you didn't have those architectural renderings, you'd be like, well, what does this building look like? Because that's just our tendencies. We want to see what things look like, right? So he has done that, and that will come back to you for final approval. I know it's a little difficult on these courtesy, like, oh man, what am I really supposed to say, or what am I really supposed to do? But I think it's just for you guys to have your eyes on it, and, oh, well, if you have any suggestions and the site plan, well, maybe add some more open space over here, or you can do this over there, looking at more of the land planning versus the land use. And obviously that deals with the various questions asked about the landscape strip and elimination of the setback, and then the sidewalk. So, I mean, you all can definitely make your recommendations of what direction you feel like in general the request is, as far as adding and expanding the pool, and then also maybe comments on this.
What is on the site plan, the dashed lines? Are those courts or to the right of the roundabout if you're approaching it? What are those?
Fields or
Yeah, what are
something?
those dashed
Tennis
lines?
courts.
They're dark.
Tennis court?
Courts.
Tennis courts?
Which one?
Oh, the dash line,
pickleball.
that's the property line.
No,
No.
no.
What's the structure?
Oh, yeah, those are courts.
Okay.
These are the tennis courts. It's 2 tennis courts.
Yeah, they're tennis
This-
courts.
Yeah, that's tennis court.
So on your plan, is there, I can't tell, but is there going to be 2 entrances from the main road, or is it just one?
You're actually required to have 2 entrances.
Okay.
Fire marshal requires that.
So, but people will come in, and you can correct me, but use the roundabout as the primary way to get in, and then drop off kids. And then if they have kids on the lower elementary or to the south, they keep on going through south, and then they drop their kids off at the other school, and then go out on the exit, which you can't see on this site plan, but it's the existing exit, Bethany Bend, closer to Morris and McGinnis Ferry.
Okay,
So it's a one-way direction.
Yes.
Yes.
so there's 3 entry, or is it
Oh.
2 entry?
For this building, 2 entry, yes.
Okay, but then the
One
the
more,
existing has another,
Yes.
okay.
And so you have a proposed 2-story, but then a future extension?
Yes, 6,000 will be, 12,000 will be doing immediately. Next 12,000 will be second phase.
Okay. And the first 12 was the rendering we saw?
That's the total.
Okay.
That's the city wanted to see the whole thing, so.
It's just in the best interest of the applicant as well as ask for as much as they can foresee. Not uncommon type of use to come in phases and to ask for the maximum.
And what will the proposed activity area be? Is that more of a gym or it's kind of,
No, it will be some activities, parents will getting together, something like that.
is it a building? Is it a structure or?
It's going to be, which one, this one, right? Yeah.
Well-
Right behind the
That's just
parking
going to be a maybe just shared kind of thing.
I think that in the request, the activity areas that they're referring
Yeah.
to are like the courts and stuff, like just the outdoor activity centers.
Is this the only parking available for the whole campus?
No, the existing one have about 25, 26 parking lot. This is about 50, 48.
Okay, and this is only going to be elementary and middle? Or, okay, so you don't plan on putting high school?
No, no.
I don't know, you've grown pretty rapidly. You might just have to
Never
plan
know
bigger.
that. But right now, no.
Okay.
Are you able to put the courts on the flood zone? Would that, no?
Can't put anything in there.
So just to comment that even on the northern section where you see these big areas of setback where there's nothing, that's part of the requirement of the private school. So we worked with have the least number of concurrent variances possible. So obviously you could say, oh, he could have just gone more into the left or to the north, but then he would have to ask for a variance. So we really, but the development standards for one of them are setbacks for activity areas, which makes sense because residences.
Just a recommendation, it would be nice to see the entire plat with current school and proposed school in the future, just so that it's easier to see everything and knowing where the side setbacks are and things like that.
Actually, partially it's there, the setback, you see the roundabout, it's there.
Right. It would just be easier
Yeah,
for
whole thing.
who else, or if it comes back to us for another review, then it'd be nice to see all of it.
Especially if we're supposed to look at the flow of the side
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's part of it.
Mhm.
We'll take that into consideration for the planning commission
Nice.
meeting later this month. It's a good idea.
It'll help them.
Is there any studies that on the traffic flow and pattern? Okay. that'd
They've
be
already
great.
submitted a traffic study, which
Okay.
our transportation engineers already looked at and
Okay,
worked
great.
through.
I know this area is very busy. I don't know how many vehicles per day, but that's a big traffic road right there. And people go fast as well.
I'm guessing when you come back, we'll see vegetation and how we can make this look really nice from the road and.
So that's the other part of not only will you come back, back with the building, but one of the other requirements is all non-residential LDPs as well. So you'll have a more complete, at that point, that land disturbance. Once it's
Yeah, my landscape architect and the arborist, they both are working right now on that. Yeah.
Look forward to it.
All right, is there? So do we have discussion amongst us before we make recommendations?
That's correct. Yep.
Okay.
So are we just making recommendations?
Yeah, so we're just, right, we're just making recommendations of,
On these items.
yeah. And the senior living permit to get rid of the senior living permit and allow the private school is part of all of those variances that are on there. So,
Okay, and the sidewalk.
It's on there. It's
Reduce
part of the three.
sidewalk. How are we feeling about that?
sidewalk is the only thing that I'm a little
Same.
nervous about. But
I
they're gonna-
personally don't think it's a good idea
No,
Not have a 10.
to reduce it.
it's a foot, right? We're talking about a foot?
Yeah, but
It'll eventually be
10, so it
5
might be
feet.
connecting to a 10-foot.
It may.
It may.
Yeah, but
That's
I
part
think
of their
they can
planning.
also make him- They think it's,
Right, so we're just making the recommendation
Mhm.
whether,
somebody else is going to decide.
exactly. I don't think that's going to be our decision.
I
We're
mean,
just
visually from,
recommending.
yeah, like, I think a 5-foot walkway would look great, but I don't know how it would function.
But I think the idea is this is going to start being more pedestrian. You're getting homes over here, and they're planning to have it be more pedestrian activity, right? So the wider, the better.
Yeah.
Especially with how much traffic is on this road. You want a wider sidewalk because it's gonna start getting.
That's true.
But we have to recommend all of it, or?
Can we recommend
Good
some of
question.
it and not some of it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
As long as the recommendation is for all you four agreed. So,
so we'll have somebody will put forth a recommendation.
Mhm.
We'll have it second,
yes,
then we'll vote on it. Okay,
correct.
So do we need to see? Vote, recommend all of it first?
I think somebody needs to put forth the
Okay, a motion.
recommendation
Okay,
and then
We'll vote on that.
we'll vote on that. Is
okay,
that right?
That's right.
Okay.
okay.
So can I get somebody to put forth a recommendation?
Okay, I will make a motion to recommend item 5A.
Or 6A, just correction.
Say it again?
6A.
Correction, that would be
I'm
6A.
sorry, that's correction, I apologize. Item 6A. There we go. Sorry, I'm getting all disheveled. Thank you. Item 6A. 1, to delete the 20-foot side setback item 6A2 to delete the 10-foot landscaped strip, and item 6A3 to reduce the sidewalk width along Bethany Bend from 6 foot to 5 foot.
So you're approving all three?
So you're recommending
Approval
approval, so,
of all three.
okay, recommendation to planning commission.
So also, I'd like you to be able to make a recommendation for the actual rezoning for the actual use and not just the concurrent variances, so.
Okay.
And you may have meant that in general, but if you refer to it as RZ 24-01, I believe.
02.
So
Okay.
you can say, we make recommendation for the rezoning from TR to O and I,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. And then you already said your concurrent variance.
Okay.
And then
Can I-
also mention about suggestion of the site plan to the south.
Okay.
I'm
I'm going to need some help.
Okay, so
Okay.
here, let's start with making a motion to recommend approval of RZ 2402, which is for the rezoning, and then for the use permit along with the 3 concurrent variants. And then you add all the recommendation that you mentioned about the sidewalks. So will that help?
Okay, so I'm going to try again. I'm going to make a motion to recommend item 6A, the rezoning from TR to O and I use permit to develop a private school. Item 6A1, to delete the 20-foot setback along the south property. Item 6A2, to delete the 10-foot landscape strip along the south property line. And item 6A3, to reduce the sidewalk along Bethany Bend within the city right-of-way from 6 to 5 feet.
And any additional comments, recommendation to, as far as the size of the sidewalk? The one that
Did we
you all
say something that we
discussed?
had one?
I'd say recommendation not to reduce the sidewalk. That would be
Okay, I
my,
think we'll,
are we in
Let's get a
agreement with that?
second and then we'll
and
discuss
then
it.
we'll discuss it. and we
Okay.
can-
But did we want to add?
Or if you don't want to second it, then we won't get a second and then we can
And then we-
discuss more.
Got it.
We'll do
Is that
again.
right?
Yeah.
So you want to first make that motion just for the rezoning, the use permit, and the concurrent variance, and make a vote on that one, and then make a motion for all the other additional
Oh.
comments?
We'll do 2 separate ones.
Okay, yeah, we can.
Is that what you want to, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we're going to do the rezoning first.
You already did that, so you
Yeah.
make a second
Because
and a
someone needs to
motion and a
second.
vote for that.
Okay.
Can I get a second from anybody?
But we are going to add the other stuff,
Okay.
right? So,
So if we
I'll
don't
second.
get a second, then we need to get another motion, correct? Or do we need to withdraw the motion first?
Oh, sorry, just for clarification.
We did not get a second on that motion.
So no one will do a second for the recommendation to approve,
Correct.
okay?
Everything.
To approve everything.
As is.
I think Jackie's saying we could
We could
second
approve
that
the-
and then make another motion.
So I just want to ask, why is there no second for this one? Are you opposed?
We do not want to reduce the sidewalk width and also the recommendation to include the adjacent property for, but
The next presentation.
yeah, those are our
Oh,
other
yeah,
two.
that's the recommendation. Are you saying that this is just for the rezoning?
Yes, for the rezoning, the use permit.
So that's what we're getting a second on,
So
just.
you're
the-
not including the concurrent variance along with those
Okay.
two?
So this is, I made a motion just for the rezoning.
Can we do
And,
that,
I mean, you
Robin?
could do
We
it
can
all together.
Okay.
It's
That's what
I was
totally
saying.
fine.
Sorry, I
Jackie
totally
saying.
Yes, I mean,
butchered
you
that.
can. I don't
This is
ha-
just very different than
This is
normal.
just the recommendation, a
Okay.
courtesy
Yeah.
review. And even when planning commission does it, they make motions with all 3 things together.
So I
you
can
don't
leave it.
have to undo it separately. So you guys figure out what you feel like you want conclusively. I feel like I understand what you want,
Mhm.
Okay.
but you guys figure it out, wordsmith it, make a motion, make a second, and then
Okay,
vote on
yeah,
it.
sorry, I
So-
thought we were going to just, and then we would go back, but that's not what we're doing.
Are
Let's
we
do-
all in agreement?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make. Are we all in
About the
agreement
10.
about the sidewalk?
I think so.
I'm good with
So
that.
if you want to redo your motion,
And
With-
then just to
without that.
recommend all the
To
items.
to
except
not
for-
reduce the sidewalk.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
No, I know.
let's
It's
try
a
this
little- It's a
again.
much, it's a bit much.
Okay.
yes.
I'm going to make another motion to recommend item 6A, the rezoning from TR to O&I use permit to develop a private school. Item 6A1, to delete the 20-foot side setback along the south property. Item 6A2, to delete the 10-foot landscape strip along the south property. And what was the other one? It was a recommendation.
Recommendation to not
with-
reduce item 3.
Yeah.
But we don't even have to
I
include
don't
that.
think, I think, but we recommend that we have a full site plan to look, to review. Is that what we,
Including the existing property.
including the existing property?
Have a second for that?
I will second.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so do I have to try and redo this? Okay, so we have a motion to rezone from TR to O&I that includes recommendations to delete the 20-foot side setback, to delete the 10-foot landscape strip, and to recommend a site plan that includes the existing building as well.
Okay.
All in favor, raise your hand. All right, that's everybody. None opposed. Recommendation passes? Okay. All right, let's try this again. Exactly.
Oh, good. I need lots of practice.
Let's do it again. So who's presenting the next review?
Good evening, board members.
Good evening.
The applicant is Asia Jalil. The address is 16135 Lively Road, and the following variants are being requested. To section 8.862 of the Unified Development Code, Part 1, to reduce the proposed barn house animals distance requirement from 100 to 58.7 feet adjacent to the north property line. Part 2, to reduce the proposed barn house animals distance requirement from 100 feet to 58.3 feet adjacent to the northeast property line. And Part 3, to reduce the proposed barn house animals distance requirement from 100 feet to 77.9 feet adjacent to the east property line. While this is 3 parts, it is for 1 barn. Here's an area of the property. This is a single-family home, and you'll see later on, but this is the location where the proposed barn is to be located. The zoning is AG1 and is located in the rural Milton Overlay District. Just a hip and a skip over is Forsyth County over here. The site is 1.73 acres. The length is 338 feet with a width of 208 feet. Applicable setbacks are a 60-foot front, 2 25-foot side interiors, and a 50-foot rear. Here's a zoomed-in version showing the barn location and the 3 sides seeking the variance. The applicant purchased the property in 2022. The property is 200 feet in width, and any location on the property would require a variance to the 100-foot distance requirement to build a barn at its currently proposed size at 28 feet by 10 feet. And back to this is the 200 feet lot width. And so really any location that they put it in, they would need a variance. And on the south side of the property, there are state waters. The proposed barn is to be oak and pine with asphalt shingles. Here's room layout showing the 2 run-ins on the side and the tack room in the middle. The proposed color is red. Be circled on the screen. And the barn shingles is proposed to be pewter gray. The applicant has support from the neighbor to the north and northwest. I believe his name is Mr. Peter Lewis, or Paul Lewis. We'll go to the letter. Paul Lewis. He owns both properties. And he is the most impacted neighbor of this variance request. Here's a view to the north, and you can make out Mr. Lewis's house just a little bit through the trees in the background. View to the south towards the state waters. View to the west across the street. And view to the east.
Can you show us in which picture the barn's going to be?
Yes, coming up. Here's a view of the house. And here's a view of northeast showing the barn location. And here's another shot showing a due north shot, the barn location as well. And so just to reframe, this was the direct north shot looking this way. Follow my cursor, and this was a northeast shot looking this way. I'll show those again. This is the northeast view. And this is the straight north view towards Mr. Lewis's house. Any questions for staff?
Do you have a south view or the view from the road where the barn will be?
The view from the south?
Yes, looking, I guess, at either at the house where the barn's going to be or from where the barn's going to be at the road. I'm just trying to, is there vegetation there?
Let me go to the aerial.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just a horse fence along the street.
Okay.
There really isn't vegetation. Most of the vegetation is along Mr. Lewis's property on both sides.
Okay.
Yeah. And the south side is heavily screened, but along Lively Road, it's pretty open.
Okay.
But again, Michael, this is just a courtesy review of the variance. They'll have to come before us for the barn.
Oh, no, so the barn would just be reviewed internally, architecturally, by the city architect.
Okay.
So you'll just be recommending on the variance today. And obviously, you can share some comments on the architecture that I'll bring to the board, the BZA, next week.
Any other questions for staff?
All right. Call
Do we
up
have
the
anybody presenting?
Yeah, call up the applicant. Yes.
Great.
Good evening. My name is Assia Jalil. My address is 16135 Lively Road, Milton, Georgia. Like Michael said, we moved in just a little over 2 years ago, and the plan was always to bring horses, one horse. I have one horse up in Blue Ridge now with a dear friend of mine. I've owned horses for over 10 years. And through the planning process, we realized that we had to obtain a variance, and the narrow width of our property, no matter where we put the barn, we will always have had to obtain a variance. So in finding that out, we tried to keep the structure as minimal as possible. It's only 10 by 28. It's a glorified shed with a storage room attached. The horse section will be a run-in, so they have 24/7 access in and out. Tried to keep it as classic red barn design as possible. From the road, they'll be able to see the side profile. It's a very walkable street in terms of traffic. There's not many cars that come by. But yeah, our neighbor, Mr. Lewis, is the one that owns all of our adjacent property. They've been super supportive, and they also have chickens and planning on bringing donkeys onto their property soon. So they're of like-mindedness. Just turning onto Lively Road from Hopewell too is Ponderosa Farm. They've got a huge boarding and lesson operation, and then 3 properties down, our neighbors, the Saunders, have horses, cows, and donkeys as well. So it's a super agriculturally friendly area. And yeah, we have a 1.5-year-old son that loves playing on the property. And that was kind of always the dream to bring, for now, horses, but maybe some chickens and other things later. Yeah, but feel free if you have any questions.
Any questions? Could you show us, Michael, could you help her with the pictures and show where just go back to where the star was on the star on your picture and just show, so is the horse, will the horse be in a pasture area or is that a separate pasture area?
That is to the left of our driveway if you're looking at our house straight, and it's a 3/4 acre piece of our property that is all fenced with horse fence on the outside, but the side right next to the driveway is not fenced yet. Obviously, that'll be fenced once the barn is finished. But yeah, there is also an additional fenced-in pasture right behind our house, literally like our backyard. Which is again another dream of every horse owner, to look out your backyard and see your horses. So that's an additional piece of property. They could later on go into the wooded area by the creek, the only stipulations being that we can't have any impervious surfaces there. But if we wanted to fence it in and just have the horses have a pasture there, that's possible. But for one horse, this is more than enough currently.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I know that's come up in the BZA before, like how much land the horse is going to have
Yeah, and
once it's there.
And that is I mean, you want your horses to have I'd love to have as much acreage as possible. But I'm of the mindedness most horses stay 8 to 12 hours in a stall daily. And so I'm not of that mindset. I like to have my horses have free access. So the fact that he has a 3/4 acre pasture whenever he wants, plus an additional over half acre behind our house. So he's got a lot more room than a lot of horses do, would be the plan. So yeah, and grass would not be their sole forage, obviously 24/7 hay and all the good horse keeping things. But yeah, I understand that point.
Gotcha. You probably more than I do. So, all right, any questions? Anybody speaking in opposition?
We have none.
Okay. Any discussion for staff? Oh, sorry. Thanks. Any discussion for staff? Any questions? No? Can I get a recommendation for this review?
Am I going to have to do it again?
No, I'll do it. I motion to approve item 6B, 16135 Lively Road, variances to allow the proposed barn housing animal distance requirements as presented. Is that correct?
I'll second. Okay, so I have a motion to recommend B 24-12 to the BZA with all of the recommendation or all of the parts included and no additional recommendations. And all in favor, raise your hand. None opposed, passes unanimous. Thank you. All right, final reviews.
We have one more courtesy.
Oh,
One
seriously?
more.
My bad.
That's for last.
One more. Speeding this thing up.
The applicant is Tim Plews, and the address is 980 Birmingham Road. The requests are to replace 2 existing freestanding signs located adjacent to Birmingham Road and Birmingham Highway with 2 parts. Part 1, to increase the allowed freestanding sign height from 8 feet to 9.7 feet. Part 2, to increase the allowed freestanding size from 32 square feet to 45.5 square feet. Here's an area of the property. This is the anchor of the Publix and many other the outparcel / tenants that are within. The zoning is AG1 and C1, and it's located in the Birmingham Crossroads overlay. The overall size is 18.98 acres. The length is 1,042 square feet with a width of 875 feet. Applicable setbacks for the C1, which is where all the concrete, where all the buildings are, is 10 feet minimum, 20-foot maximum. If you follow my cursor, this is where the community waste facility is for the package plant. And it's required to have a 75-foot undisturbed buffer along the outside. And this was all done through Fulton County in 2004. And you can see it better from the aerial, all these trees. This is where the package plant is located. Essentially just a giant septic system for the whole development. And you can see the buffer along the north side too. So here are the two existing freestanding signs that are seeking the variances today. On some background information, the marketplace at Birmingham Village opened in 2006, and the original two ground signs were constructed in the same year. Suzo 4 Birmingham LP purchased the property in 2015, and the applicant is also proposing 3 internal directional signs, and no variances are needed. 1 and 2 are the existing freestanding signs, and then the directional signs are 3, 4, and 5 inside the proposed shopping center. For more visibility, more directional, especially if you're coming from the Publix and leaving, it can direct you to some of these businesses. So here is the proposed sign, which again is to increase from 8 feet to 9.17 feet. And the overall square footage is to increase from 32 square feet to 45.5 square feet. And I'll show you images of the existing, and it's the same design as what has been there since 2006. It's just a taller version. And you can see on the right, the Publix is actually much bigger currently. And what they're doing is they're shrinking the overall Publix sign and making the tenant signs larger. These are the exterior directional, they are actually internal directional signs. So they are not visible from the right of way, but that just shows you what the applicant's proposing. Here are the current tenant support letters, businesses within the marketplace of Birmingham Village. This is from Crossroads Yoga. And this is a letter that was in your packet because we received it yesterday. It is from the UPS store. I also have printouts for you on the dais. And lastly, received another support letter from another tenant. This is Sharky's Cuts for Kids. Here's a view to the north, which this is the Publix parking lot, viewing that 75-foot undisturbed buffer. View to the south across Birmingham Road. View to the west across Birmingham Highway. And view to the east, showing the package plant area / also a 75-foot undisturbed buffer. So here is the existing ground sign on Birmingham Road. Side number 2. Here is the Birmingham Highway ground sign. And side number 2. Here is a view from Birmingham Road heading westbound. I waited for traffic to clear out before I was in the street here. And here's the sign right here. Here's the view heading eastbound on Birmingham Road. And if you follow my cursor, here's the sign. Slightly obstructed from a tree in this shot. Here is the northbound view from Birmingham Highway. And you follow my cursor, here's the public sign. And lastly, a view heading southbound on Birmingham Highway, and here's the public sign. Any questions for staff before I call up the applicant?
Is there a sign, what's the sign height requirement right now?
8 feet max, 32 square feet. And they're
And
trying
what
to
are they
do
proposing?
9.17, so increasing by 1.7 feet. And then the square footage is from 32 to 45 and a half.
And both signs are the same size?
Correct, yes. Same variance for both.
I noticed that the existing sign has goosenecks. I did not see that on the rendering. Will the proposed signs be lit?
There are gooseneck lights. I'll defer to the applicant.
Okay.
Yes, there will be gooseneck lighting. Same exact lighting as what's out there. I got the nod. Let me go back to the rendering. That is a good point, though.
So I think I saw that they're going to use the existing footprint for the sign, and I see that a lot of the stone needs to be redone on the base. Are they plan on doing that when the new sign, if it goes in?
I'll defer that to the applicant when he comes up.
And what's the, could each individual business have a sign? What's the sign allowance?
Can they?
Well, there's no minimum or maximum, but everybody has to share one ground sign.
Okay, so signs can only be in those two places?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. And you can see from the rendering, the public's just shrinking and the small tenants are getting larger. Yeah, I'll defer to the applicant how they came to that solution.
Right. All right. Any other questions? All right, let's call up the applicant.
All right. Okay.
Thanks for being here. If you could state your name and address, we'd
Hi,
appreciate it.
members of the board. Tim Plews, representing the ownership entity SUSO 4 Birmingham LP for the marketplace at Birmingham Village. And I have my representative from Peachtree Signs. So we're here to request the variance for the sign size and the size or the sign height to offer the tenants more visibility out on Birmingham Road and Birmingham Highway. Currently, there's only a couple of tenants on each panel, Publix being, of course, the major anchor. We are actually going to reuse their existing sign letters. So while their space is shrinking a little, their actual size of their sign will remain consistent with their current aesthetic. The property has 26 tenants with 2 vacancies right now. So by offering these 6 additional panels on each side, we'll be able to offer up to 24 tenants additional visibility from both roadways. And as you'll note in the tenant letters of support, most of them have experienced some type of hardship based on the fact that they do not have any visibility on the roadways. Thus, we're here for that.
I have to ask.
Yes.
Have you had Publix review the sign?
Yes. Yeah, their only comment so far has been that they wanted us to paint their current letters to match their current Sherwin-Williams paint colors.
Okay.
But they are in support of this as well.
From the pictures, the existing pictures, it looks like some of the tenant panels are blank. Some of the letters have fallen off.
Yes.
Is that a maintenance issue or?
It's for the one side where the Avita sign is. They actually had them put up by push pins. So since we were going through this process, we didn't have them
Yeah.
expend any money to change the panel out.
When you redo the signs, are you going to try to fix that? What's the solution there?
Well, yeah, the entire panel will be brand new. So every tenant panel will be brand new, and we'll be using their specs for their signage based on their logos or brand preferences for that.
How will it attach? I think it looks like the question may be how will it attach? Because it's coming off, right? It's not mounting well.
Yeah, sure. So each individual panel, and Cecil, if you'd like to chime in.
Actually, it's glue.
It's glue.
That they use like silicone and stud mount. So they shouldn't come off unless you last for 20 years.
The strong glue.
The letters and the signs.
And they'll be interchangeable too, should there be tenant turnover, of course,
Yes.
as well as the wayfinding signs that we're going to place inside the perimeters.
So who's responsible when a tenant moves out or moves in to change the signs?
It would be our responsibility as landlord, yes.
Okay. And then I think I read that the footprint remained the same on both signs, but are they replacing the stone on the base, or what's the plan for that?
Most of the stone is in good shape, but if there are any repairs that need to be made, they'll be made at the time of install.
Okay.
Absolutely. We're looking to increase and enhance the center's prominence in the area. So we're doing a lot of upgrades to the property this year. We've got a seal and stripe happening next year, the signage enhancements, and excuse me. We have, like I said, only the 2 vacancies, so we're trying to get it all completely leased up.
So are you using the existing post?
Yeah.
No.
So everything's going to be brand new.
Yeah.
Okay, so the existing stone will be replaced?
So the footprint itself and the stone, the pillars will remain.
So you're just removing the old post and making, and inserting it
Exactly.
directly in?
Yes, ma'am.
And if when we do the demo, if we need, sometimes we might need to replace those columns. And
Yeah.
probably we will.
According to the drawing,
Pull
it's,
them out, it's going to be,
Yeah, we won't know until we actually pull them out, whether or not there's any damage to the existing pillars.
I'm going to come watch you pull them out and leave the stone in
Right,
place.
perfectly in place.
they could use the extra help.
Is the current sign at the height for the ordinance, which I have written down, but
The current sign is 8 feet, which is the max
Okay.
sign limit currently, yes. Our proposal is to go up 14 inches.
it looks like a big difference, the 14 inches.
Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, it sounds like it looks like it, but it's just the way that the signs will be structured at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, you
And the
definitely need
fact
more
that Publix
tenants.
is shrinking as far as you won't see as much of the background.
Yeah.
So it looks like everything is getting pushed up more, but it's actually only 14 inches.
The center is, I mean, it does have, it's not represented with the tenants that they have on the monument signs now.
This is not my local Publix, but,
Yeah.
and so I don't know where anything is. And if I've had to go there a few times, it's like, I don't know where I'm going. And I even have it on my GPS.
And we took over in 2022 and identified that immediately as an opportunity that we could offer to the tenants by installing the wayfinding signs and going through this process.
Yes, I really like the internal directional signs.
That's the one,
It
because
took
I'm like,
me-
oh,
Yes, and then
Yes.
it's enormously large time to find the map
will help,
one time.
yeah.
Yes.
Center went from 4 back in 2005
Yeah.
to 30.
Hmm.
That's where the real issues.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Well, so just to clarify, there was 4 on the signs. The buildings or the amount of tenants has remained pretty consistent.
Mhm.
Was there a color that you specified for just the wood stain? I think, is it just raw cedar?
So the wood stain, go ahead.
No,
You know,
there's, and if you look at those, the 3 directionals, that's the new color.
Directionals.
So we'll use that stain on the
The
wood.
Sherwin-Williams traditional mahogany and
I don't see the
page
drawing.
6 and.
They don't have that.
Yeah, I don't think we have it.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. What do you want?
And it listened.
So that's a stain or a paint?
Stain.
Okay.
It's a solid stain.
Okay.
So it's going to cover the cedar.
When I hear the word mahogany, that's not what I think of, so I was just curious.
Have y'all done any other drawings to try and bring the sign into the compliance? Were there any drawings with reducing the Birmingham Village, that top piece, bringing it lower to try and get it into its?
We were trying to stay with the aesthetic that was already approved, but we did look at one point, we had 12 tenants on each side panel. We wanted to offer larger wording, lettering, so that they would have more visibility. So as people drove by, so that's what led to us trying to raise it up and keeping 6 on each side.
Because how, on the tenant, the letters are only like, what, 6 inches or
Yeah.
how?
The
Letters
letter,
on the monument, on the big sign, you mean? or
No,
not?
on where the tenant signs go, on these lower signs?
right, so they are 10 by 36 with the lettering at 6 inches.
That's the pan, if you have a single line, then you're going to have a 6-inch letter.
Mhm.
But some of these people have longer
2.
names. so
I don't think you can go any
smaller.
smaller and see it.
Yeah.
You want it to be
32
readable.
If I took 30 tenants and divided that by 32, which is the square footage, and you're coming up with some letters for some
Yeah.
people that are just not visible.
Right, especially from the road.
Kind of laid it out to where we thought it would adequate exposure, and that's how we came up with
I'm guessing there's a limit of how wide the sign can be. Do we know what that is?
It's probably by the square footage. You're limited by the square
Oh,
footage.
yeah.
Yeah, just the height and square footage are the two
Gotcha.
parameters.
Okay.
Have y'all talked about getting rid of the Bethany Village?
I don't think that would work too well. No, sorry.
Throwing it out there.
Are we not a fan? I had a Subway in there for years.
Well, so I was thinking I know it's only 14 inches.
Yeah.
If we recommend approving the additional 14 inches and it goes citywide, 14 inches, I mean, that's, I don't know, over time, that could be a big deal. I was trying to think of recommendations to bring it into compliance to
Sure.
mitigate
So,
that.
well, I think the focus here is the hardship on the tenants. We came up with several designs trying to offer adequate space and size for the tenants, but ultimately landed on this one because without the minimum size of the letters being 6 inches, it would be hard to see as you drive farther away from or as you're farther away coming up on the sign, you would be able to read it. We're actually trimming all of the bushes around both signs as well so that we can offer more visibility. But if we keep it at 8 feet, while we could remove the Birmingham Village location, we would probably want to put a banner at the bottom to identify the shopping center name. So we're just moving it one way or the other.
It's aesthetically pleasing.
Can I jump in real quick? I just want to point out the square footage is just, if you look at the drawing, is inside the box where the lettering is. So he is seeking the variance for the size regardless of that height. The 32 square feet is increasing to 45 and a half feet. Even if he got rid of that top part, they're still seeking the increase in size inside the box where Publix, Truist, all the tenants are. That's how you measure sign area of the square footage.
Is the title and the numbers, is that calculated in the square footage?
No,
Okay.
it's just the tenant planks really.
Oh, wow.
But the height includes the whole structure.
Okay.
It's two separate.
I know what you're saying, because if you approve then it's, everyone will ask for the variance,
Right.
right?
For a bigger sign.
They do have a hardship, but then people could argue, well, there's space between the Publix and the Birmingham, the top of they could easily lower it down. It won't look as good. So
I do like the style of the sign. I think it
it looks
adds to the charm of that area, and just to get it into the parameters that we've set to take away from the design doesn't sit well with me. And I think they've demonstrated that there is a hardship for those tenants, and we've watched it by them having a high turnover rate.
Yes.
And not this is going to solve all of your problems, but I feel like it will help, especially the internal directional signs. I think that's great. And that one, you don't need anything to do, so.
Right. We're already in the process of manufacturing and getting ready to install those
Okay.
so that we can get that kick-started.
I can't really think of another, or should we?
No, go keep to, I mean, if you have any other questions
I
for
do,
them.
I do not.
Okay. Well, thank you all for presenting.
Thank you.
Is there any public comment?
We have none.
Okay. So do we have discussion now, or do we make a motion and then discuss?
You have to discuss first
Okay.
and then make a motion.
Okay.
Second, I think there's another
And then
discussion.
we can discuss the
Yep.
motion. Okay.
Yes. I was just going to say, I don't think there's too many shopping center areas in Milton that are as large.
Right.
So I don't necessarily worry about the risk of other shopping areas requesting larger signs as well. I personally don't have a problem with them increasing the size of the sign, only because of the volume of tenants in this shopping center.
It may help with safety. I mean, I know when I don't know where I'm going and I'm driving and I'm trying to find it, it's not visible. Sure. It could help in that area a little bit too.
helps with business too. You don't want
Okay.
those spaces vacant.
Right.
Correct. And cut down on turnover if, people are saying, oh, wait, there is a sushi place in there.
Yeah, and it's kind of a unique space, the way everything is behind buildings and.
Right, you have
it's
to
not
kind of
wide
go in
open
there.
like, some other shopping centers where you can see everything lined up.
Right.
So I feel that in itself creates an issue. That's maybe a special circumstance for this facility.
All right. Any more discussion? More questions? And get a motion to recommend?
Yes, I'll do this one. I would like to make a motion to recommend approval of 6C 980 Birmingham Road, the marketplace at Birmingham Village, to allow for both part 1 and 2 as stated in the application.
I second.
All right. We've got a motion from Ms. Danella and a second from Ms. Coker. Any discussion? Yep. All right. All in favor, raise your hands. All right. Motion passes. Thank you.
All right, are we ready for item 7A?
Yes, please.
All right, our item 7A, the location is 13625 Arnold Mill. The size of this parcel is 4.11 acres, and that's tract 2. This current zoning district is community business, and it's in the Arnold Mill character area. The existing use right now, it's under development, and we are requesting the applicant, Mr. Jeff Bittman, and his associates are requesting for a final review of building architecture plan for the 3 buildings. So just to give you a little bit of the aerial view of what that locations look like, and bordered in red, you'll see the subject site, and you have also 2 prominent properties in the area. We have the Chadwick landfill and McConnell Chadwick Homestead, which is a historic structure per Milton's historic survey. And just to the north of that is already Cherokee County. Here's a recorded plat of the Chadwick Village. As mentioned, there's 2 tracts. Tract 2B, that's the first or the phase 1 of the development, and then Tract 2A, which is the subject of tonight's application and review. So just to give you what that looks like as far as the site plan for phase 1, they've submitted actually a building plan and a landscape or LDP plan that was already approved for a commercial building, a pavilion, a store or a convenience store, and then the one behind it is the gas station. So as DRB requested at the May meeting, you wanted to see what the architecture plan, let me just pull it right quick, of the approved design of that phase 1. So just to share with you. So it's just 1-story building. Where my cursor is, that's the convenience store, gas station, gas pump. Next slide. This is the commercial building, office/retail. Again, this is from the view of Arnold Mills. So if you're driving Arnold Mill, this is the one that you'll see from the front road, which is this commercial building. And I don't know if you can see, this is the pavilion that's between the convenience store and that commercial building. Here's another angle from the back where you can see all structures. This is just a view of, another view of the elevation for the convenience store. So this was approved back in 2021. You know, as far as the colors, the massing, you know, the different materials for all of the buildings, you know, it's all in this plan that was approved in 2021. Okay. And this is just for the whole plan, building plan that they've submitted, just to show you what are the materials for this building. You know, you have a standing seam metal roof, painted gutter, you have face brick, which is the water table, you know, and some glass paneling. You also have beams and some gooseneck lighting. So all of that are spelled out in this building. So if you wanted to, as you review phase 2 buildings, you know, you can say, hey, I'd like to see what's on that phase 1 again, just kind of, if you want to do a comparison. All All right, going back to the presentation. So it went to DRB on May 7, 2024 for a courtesy review. And on that meeting, these are the following recommendation. You see in the image to the right, that was the first rendering that was submitted. And the board thinks that the color is too dark. You know, it needs a little bit of natural elements such as stone. Of course, everyone agrees that they need to revise it and kind of soften the look of the building. And also there's several items like show the gutters and the renderings and landscaping. Consider a lighter color for heavy timber elements, also as well as the metal roof. And so all of that we're going to show you, or the architect who's in attendance will show you that new proposed renderings. So I just also want to point out that out of that 13 recommendations, number 7, add shutters on the front elevation of the building. That's the only thing that they are not going to incorporate. The reason for that is the applicant conveyed that they wanted a restaurant building to maintain more of a commercial look rather than a residential. So adding a shutter, it makes it look like it's a home rather than a, let's say, an office building or a restaurant. So I'd like to ask the applicant first to present the new revised plan, the renderings, and then I'll come back for our analysis.
Good evening. I'm Neil Waddle, architect with Terminus Design Group, representing the ownership group tonight. I'm excited to walk you all through the updated design. Really like how this turned out. So I'll go ahead and start the presentation and sort of reiterate some of the things Jackie mentioned and sort of show you all what we made better. Clearly, this is a huge adjustment from the last time we presented. So we've gone away from the black and white look to a much more neutral earth tone look, incorporating lighter board and batten. There were some recommendations of cedar shake, so we love that idea. Put some of that, incorporated that into the gable accents. Changed the color of the heavy timber accents to more of an oak look. Changed the roof, like Jackie said. We did 12 of the 13 requests, and then we also felt like we made it better in other architectural styles. Specifically, these renderings really showcase the landscape, hardscape, and it sort of tell a much better story, I think, than last time when we didn't have the actual renderings to show. So this is the one-story building facing Chadwick, or Arnold Mill, I apologize. Is it Chadwick?
Arnold Mill.
Yeah. So intended to be restaurant facing the street. The next rendering shows the office building rendering, and these two buildings will be very similar in style. A few of the things that we updated in this rendering, again, went to more earth tones, incorporated some nice cedar shake, changed the roof material. I think one of my favorite design updates on this is we changed the end, what were sort of just column moments, to more of a, hey, let's incorporate more of a chimney accent here, incorporate the stone that was requested, offer tenants fireplaces, places to gather. So all in all, I really like how this new iteration turned out. So it's brighter, more earth tone, while incorporating the comments from the previous design review board meeting. And again, having these renderings, I think, tells the story much better than just having the 2D elevations and Revit perspectives. And Revit is the software we use. So beyond that, the rest of it's a lot of what we saw last time. Site plan, again, so building 1 down here is the one-story building, the restaurant building, and then buildings 2 and 3 are back here on the site, or the 2-story buildings. Well, 1, potentially 2-story buildings you just saw. And then these are just conceptual plans, right? So we've started going through how do we break these out into 1 tenant, 2 tenant, 3 tenants, 4 tenants. As you all know, commercial real estate, you're kind of designing outside in sometimes, so you also want to plan for maximum efficiencies. And then again, just 2D elevations that represent the rendering as well. So again, super happy with how these turned out, and definitely appreciate the recommendations from the previous design review board meeting. And hopefully you all see the updates, changes in a positive manner, and we're excited for some feedback.
So part of your staff report, there's about 2 pages or 3 pages of the architecture and building details. All of the standards in that table is under the Rural Milton Overlay District, which you can find in our adopted UDC, section 6.3. So I'm not going to go over each of the standard, but one thing, there is a part here that I'm going to show just because there's conditions, especially the windows. All windows are fixed windows with different light patterns ranging from 4 to 10 light per the drawing. The proposed windows are oriented vertically. So technically it's yes, it meets the standard. However, I'd like to see more details, and that details will be provided to us once we get into the building permitting process. So just to kind of show the height of the windows, the width, that kind of thing. And same thing with the doors. So those are the 2 things or conditions that I see that the applicant needs to meet. But other than that, if you have any specific questions for each standard, I'd be happy to answer that as well. As orientation, the size of the building, all of that meets the standard.
What's the reasoning
Go ahead.
What's the reasoning of the windows and not having them exceed a certain square footage? And
so the size of the windows, so when you typically we do, let's say 4 by 6, multiply that should be the total size of the window. So we don't like a big picture window. So if it's a big picture window, we want to make sure that there's mullion in between, kind of divided, so it won't just look like just one giant window.
So it's
that's
the
why
detail of the lights.
Yes,
in the
we
window
detail the
itself.
lights. The reason for that too is, especially it's also common to some of the houses that we look at. They like big windows, and sometimes the city architect would say, let's do something about it, kind of look too commercial, let's break it into maybe 2 segments or 3, depending on how wide the window is. And then we work with the applicant to see if they can add some other elements like transom, the lights on the side, transom on the top. So that kind of thing for the windows. So the plan that they provided to us doesn't show the sizes. So that's why I'm putting this condition. So that way, when they apply for the building and we look at it, okay, that is the right size of the window. And the column to the right, or the first column rather, it says here that no one window may exceed 32 square feet. And no grouping of windows may exceed 100 square feet, as approved by the city architect. And then we look at the windows too in their plan, they're all vertical. So I don't see anything that, look at it like horizontal building. So just looking at this plan, I think they're gonna, this is a good size, but I just want that detail in the plan itself. So that's why I placed those conditions.
so you don't know exactly how big that window is. That's why you placed the condition?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, for us, in the planning side, we really want details and everything. So it's kind of important, sometimes for some of this building plans or to call out sizes. Okay, and then moving on. So if you have no question in regards to the architecture standards, I'd like to move on to the recommendations. As for the architectural features, you'll see it's a nice renderings that they presented, the updated version. And then colors, of course, all of that, we check our ordinance just to make sure it is acceptable.
So have they provided any specific paint colors? Or-
Yes, so in our ordinance, this is covered by the rural Milton overlay. So there is a table that has all the recommended colors. So we use a Pantone color system. So if, let's say, they are using, and like a Sherwin-Williams 7050, and actually, in fact, we have an application later after this. We look at that color and compare it to the Pantone system. So I have a color chart that look all of this and say, okay, this closely matched, this is good enough. So things
So
like
has
this.
the
So how we,
applicant given you that?
yes,
Direct- okay.
yeah.
Jackie, I didn't see anything on the phase one paint callouts.
So that's the one that actually I've asked our former DRB Layson. So that wasn't something that was call out, but based on the color that they've submitted, it's more of like a cream base beige color. But again, I'm not sure if they've submitted already the actual building permit application. So that's something that we have to look at. And
It would be
because this
nice
was
if they-
approved,
Yeah.
so we have to stick whatever color that they've shown on this plan.
So that
So
was
like-
approved in 2021?
2021, so there's 2 phases of this development.
Yeah, but that hasn't been built.
Not yet. So right now they're doing the grading. I believe that's the LDP part first. And then once that's done, then they're ready to build the building that they've exactly these 3 buildings that was submitted to DRB and to the community development.
But these are the same owners.
No, different owners.
Oh.
Yes.
I didn't
So it
realize
still
that
didn't have
either.
to go through, I'm struggling with, this is sort of a package deal with building 1, 2, and 3?
So
And they
I
need
think it
to-
was, and Neil, feel free to jump in on this one. My understanding it was 2 different property owners.
Okay.
The track one was purchased long time ago, and then they built this convenience
Okay.
store. And I think the second one, which is the track at the back of this, was a different owner. And
Yeah,
as
so
far as
our
I'm
team
concerned.
has nothing to do with this
Mhm.
phase 1. In fact, we saw phase 1 and wanted to make phase 2 way better. So that was part of the goal.
I think you succeeded.
Thank you.
yes.
Appreciate it.
How long how long does it take for an LDP to expire if they don't break ground?
I believe it's 6 months. Once they get a permit, there is a 6 months. Is that correct, Rima? Okay. 6 months. So if, let's say, they haven't done the work within 6 months, they have to reapply and reinstate that permit so they can proceed again with the development.
So for phase one, did they have to reapply or did they just wait to submit?
I believe they waited because there's some changes with, I feel like this went to DRB twice, if my memory serves me right. But I don't have any other information.
Yeah, I'm
as
just
far
curious.
as- Yeah. Yeah, I'm not
So is
familiar
there-
with their timeline on this.
So let's just say DRB approved this in 2006 and they didn't build. And is that still I just feel like that there's got to be some type of parameter.
Well, then the building permit that they applied, all of that expired and they have to come back to us to reapply, reinstate that. Let's see if there's any changes again to that plan that you submitted, let's say in 2006. If that changed, then let's come back to DRB and then present that again. But if this, say, for example, this plan was approved in 2006 and nothing has changed, then that's still the final.
So we're not voting to approve part 1. It's
No,
already been-
that was
No.
over.
You just-
Yeah, I
is
was just showing
mentioned
it
just
because
it's in the same
Yeah.
area? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they're adjacent to each other.
Okay.
And it's a
Yep.
final review.
Yeah, so the final review for here, you're making a recommendations to the community development director. So let me go back to this one. So let me just talk about, just highlight the characteristics of this building. We all know that it's a modern farmhouse style with rustic architectural elements. The style complements the rural surroundings in Arnold Mill. I like the fact that it has an open air mezzanine and outdoor patio, and of course, the metal mesh with vegetation growth on the outdoor patio windows, which I think it's a very nice touch. It's so natural. And it just complements the overall look. It's really visually pleasing when you look at this building. And of course, the DRB's input on that, on making it, have a lighter color, soften the look, add more natural elements, then so. And also one thing to point out that they are also coming back possibly in August or September for the LDP plan. So we'll do the building plan for now, and then when they come back, we'll talk about landscaping, the site, and get also your recommendations for that. So that said, the overall building design, materials, and color contribute to the style and feel of Arnold Mill surroundings. The plan adequately addresses the rural Milton overview district standards. Therefore, staff recommends approval with the condition that the applicant provide the following details on the building plan. So that's the width and height of entrance doors, other exterior doors, and windows for buildings 1, 2, and 3 during the permitting process. That said, if you have any further question for staff or the applicant, if not, then if you're happy with the design, if you think that addresses all your recommendations from the last May meeting, recommendations for approval. And if there's any additional recommendations to, like, I don't like this, can we change that? You can certainly do that.
I have a few questions.
Go ahead.
Okay. I know this is not, I just realized this isn't in this phase, but are there dumpsters right by one of the buildings?
So that's going to be covered when we do the landscape and the site plan. So all of that, you will see where's the location of the dumpster, entrance to the site, exit, and the road. So that kind of elements will be discussed during the LDP plan.
Okay. And then building 1, I believe, we had talked about green screens. Is that still in play?
Let's see, let me go back.
I believe it was that building.
So this is building 1, which is the 1-story, and you're asking about the...
At one point, I think we had talked about there was going to be green screens in front of the windows. Is
yes,
that
this one
still
over
a
here.
feature?
So the only one that they did not want to add is adding the shutters. So, but this is the screen window, and as you can see, there looks like a vegetation there.
Be part of the outdoor experience.
Is that going to be like an open trellis then? Is that sort of, okay, got it.
Yes.
I love the wood outline. I think it looks great.
I wasn't here at the meeting last month, so great job on your recommendations. This is outstanding. Great improvement.
Neil, what did your customer think of the recommendations?
I think it was positive, but I think once we put the buildings in the rendering software that you're looking at, and that tells us, I think if we had come to you all last time with the black and white iteration with these quality of renderings, it would have not been as standoffish, but I think all in all, it's a positive win for everything because, after we went back and tinkered with the design and colors and materials, and then we rendered it, I think it, like Jackie was saying, it fits really well. And sometimes at that scale, come off a little harsh.
Yeah, this looks great. Are you planning on having downspouts for building 2 and 3 above the entries? I don't see them on the rendering, but I'm just asking.
So here's one right here, downspouts.
Look for building 2 and 3.
Oh, for building 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yes, same. one
And then in
here.
front of the entries?
Oh, like the canopies?
Yeah. Are those going to just fall, or are you going
Oh,
to
this one?
try to
She's talking
collect it?
about the entry canopies there,
Oh,
like where it says John and John Law.
Yes.
That's a good question. There's a couple ways to handle that. What would be kind of cool is do you all know what rain chains are?
Mm-hmm.
That'd be kind of cool. But I mean, those are super deep. Like those are good comments and details that, as we get into schematic design and design development, we'll talk about, and we're happy to report back any of these details that question.
That's actually a good recommendation too for the director.
Yeah.
To look at downspout
Yes,
options?
to look at downspouts for that entry.
And the same with like connectivity on the site, that will be reviewed at a later date?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Parking space, like you said, dumpsters, screening, landscaping, different types of trees and plants, flowers, all of that.
I think this looks great.
Yeah.
It'll be a nice addition.
And just looking at the old one,
Mhm.
it's a big difference, right? So
Yeah.
very
No,
huge difference.
I think they did a good job incorporating.
Yeah.
All right, any more questions, discussion? Get a recommendation?
I guess I'll make a motion to recommend item 7A, Chadwick Village, 13625 Arnold Mill Road. Recommend as stated with conditions to include window and door sizing, as well as downspout options for building, which one was that?
2 and 3.
Two and three.
Yes.
I second.
Okay, I have a motion from Ms. Jackson and a second from Ms. Danella to approve 7A Chadwick Village with staff recommendations to include the window and door sizing and the downspouts in building 2 and 3. All in favor, raise your hand. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice job,
Thank
Neil.
you.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, our last and final review for tonight is final building review for an exterior paint for Chase Bank. So the location is 15800 Birmingham Highway, Unit 700. The zoning district for this is mixed use. It's within the overlay district of Birmingham Crossroads. The existing use is commercial, and the applicant, Mr. Eduardo Zambrana, is requesting to review the proposed new exterior paint color. So because I did mention about Birmingham Crossroads overlay, and I think Michael in his variance, he also talked about property in Birmingham. So just for an FYI, one pager for everyone's knowledge, a Birmingham Crossroads overlay is a village type development pattern. It's located at the intersection of Birmingham Highway, Birmingham Road, and Hickory Flats. And the size of this crossroad is 27.1 acres. It's currently under a septic system. There's 2 zoning districts there. We have the mixed use and community business. And all standards about this crossroads can be found under UDC Article 6, Special Purpose District, Section 6.4. So this is just to give you just a general look, an idea of what Birmingham Crossroads overlay. This shows the aerial map, and on that location point icon, this is the location of the propose or the subject site. Formerly, it's Wells Fargo, and now it's Chase Bank. Just a closer look of the site location. On the photos of adjacent properties, this will give you an idea the different architecture, especially the paint colors in that district. So it's a mix of residential and businesses. So this is what the existing building looks like. You'll see it's just a predominantly brick color in red. The applicant actually mentioned to me earlier that it needs, there's some damages in the bricks that really need some maintenance. And one of the things that they think of that could help with that is by repainting them. So the southeast elevation is the one that's facing the roundabout, just for perspective. Here's the other elevation. So they are proposing SW7050 useful gray, and this is the color. They're going to use that color to paint all of the brick, except all the trims, the columns, the shutters, the lighting. They're not repainting them. They're just gonna paint it with white, similar color, but no additional color for all those mentioned. I think the roof also will not be modified. It will still remain the same. So this just show you the different elevations once you apply that color, paint color. So with that, staff recommends approval of the exterior and paint color. This color matches Pantone 400C, a base color prescribed by the code, and it's allowed in Birmingham Crossroad Overlay District. So, any questions for staff?
It looks like that they're painting the door as well to match the trim color.
Yes. Okay. So they're painting it white as well.
The trim is getting painted again.
Yeah. Same color though. Same color. So the only thing that they're really painting is that brick.
Mm-hmm. What is the trim color?
Is white.
Just
So
a
just a
white?
regular white, yeah. That's existing right now, so if you.
Like 3,000 whites.
I don't think Sherwin-Williams makes white.
So if you look at the existing, they want to match that color. Yeah.
Okay. Looks Snow White to me. It couldn't be something.
Call it the applicant?
Recommend, yeah, a different color, more of a off-white, so.
No, I think first of all, there's only two colors on the whole building. I
Yes.
feel like just to be more aesthetically pleasing,
Yeah.
to have a third color
Okay.
would be, I think, would enhance. I think soften the white, but not stark white. I don't mind the color that they've chosen for the brick, but I think maybe changing the shutters to be a like dark gray or black, and then I would recommend the lighting be changed to black and the doors be black, or
Okay.
just having a third option, maybe not dark, stark black, but like a dark gray of some sort.
Sparkle or something.
Yeah, I just think it would soften it, because this is going to help tremendously when they paint the brick, because it's, right now, it looks like red and white. And I just think the white, in the pictures at least, looks very stark snow white. And I think just like a white dove or something, that color where it's
Yeah.
just a little softer white.
But not too cream.
But not too cream, no, because I
okay.
think it's sort of a muted, muddier color that they've chose, which I think is in keeping with this area. I think to soften that would update it a little bit with the
Okay.
trim, and to change something and not have it all matchy-matchy would I think, enhance that building a little bit, in my opinion.
I think it's great. What material is the door? It looks wood here, but I don't know if that's right.
We have the applicant, actually, a good question. Architect for this project.
Good evening, Design Review Board. My name is Eduardo Zambrana, 1445 Ross Avenue, Dallas, Texas, 75202. So just so you know, this building was built around 2005, 2006. So through the years, there's been with the fitting of the brick color, sun, maybe a little bit of shifting of the soils has provided some flares on the brick. So what we decided, and also since it was a Wells Fargo bank, and now we're going to Chase Bank, there has been some patching of openings for ATMs and after hours deposit. We cannot match exactly where they were before, so we have to patch the brick in some of the areas. So as you know, patching brick, red brick, is almost impossible, especially for a building that's been fading for like 20 years. So we came up with the idea, during construction, because we have an interior permit right now. The building interior is almost completed. It's going to be completed probably in the next week or so. We did a punch last week, and interior of the building, of course, completely done. We had some minor work on the accessible paving for the accessible parking spaces. So my client would like to complete the work as soon as possible with the paint of the building, and this is what we provided. The storefront window, the main doors right now, they're existing for some reason. Everything was white on the windows, but for some reason they kept that like a dark gray color. They're storefront doors. So right now we're in the process of installing white storefront doors. We ordered those probably 2 or 3 months ago, and they're finally going to be installed on Friday. When it comes down to the color of the brick, we just started to make just a really simple look. It has two-tone colors, and we decided to do the same thing. Now, we did one project right now in, it's about 20 minutes away from this building where we did the same thing. I can show you, actually, I went to the site today to take a look at, I can show you pictures of what it looks like. Is that something I can show you?
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Michael can figure it out.
I didn't realize I actually had a sample.
It looks great.
He's gonna put his phone down there. He's gonna put his phone down there.
Oh, is that what you're doing? I thought you had.
No.
Yeah, let me see.
It's been done before.
Okay.
Lock out in a minute.
Oh, no, it doesn't turn.
Are those the same white doors that you've got for this new?
So this, no, actually, yeah, this is actually, yes, white doors, but on our design, we kept the design of the doors the same. This one just has typical normal storefront doors. The ones that we picked has the same design as the doors that you see there.
Okay.
But it's just gonna be, oops.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be, the color of them is gonna be white instead of the dark color you see right there. If you want to do a different, on this building that we did in Canton, we did have 2 types of paint colors. One of them was a little bit lighter than the other one. What we did is anything that was protruding, we painted a different color than the one on the, so if you think about it, there's a plane, anything that protrudes out of that plane, we painted that a little bit of a different color than the rest of the building. That's something that we can do in this building. I feel that personally, the shutters and the doors and the trim of the wood should remain white. I really don't want to paint that a different color if possible. But I'm here to hear suggestions for sure.
Were there shutters on that Canton store or bank?
Oh, let me see.
No, not on the one that
They weren't.
It looked like
Not on this
stucco.
phone, yeah.
Very
No, this one did not happen. Can I show you, can I go there and show you this? So what we're showing right now, I think, is the darker color that we picked from the bank. This is the one.
Which, I mean, that looks good because there is not a big, huge trim and columns and there's not a lot happening. So it looks good within that architecture style. This is just, I think traditionally, this is a very traditional style of building. And if this was in a home, you would not match your trim, columns, and the shutters. The shutters are a separate item typically. So that's, I think that's where my struggle is.
Let's put it on the screen just so that we get, sorry, Michael.
For this one?
Yeah,
Okay,
let's just put
sorry.
it on there just to get it in the recording, and even if it times out, somebody wants to pause YouTube, they can. Yeah, you can see the two-tone on your, it's hard to see the two-tone in this picture.
Yeah, I can see it better on this.
Yeah, you can.
So what are the two colors, do you know? Of that
On
one?
this project right here, the useful gray is one of them. I need to see which one was the other color.
Which was the darker one, right? The useful gray.
This,
darker.
the front color was the useful gray.
The darker color, I think, was the, yes,
Yeah.
the useful gray.
But where would that fit in? Are we allowed to have discussion? Or
Yes.
should we, okay. Where would that other color fit in on this?
I was just thinking the shutters would be a complementing color. It doesn't have to be dark, but I just think we have this and we have white. To me, it's just a lot because you have this huge column pedestal or pediment thing and it goes all the way. Does that go all the way around the?
It does.
It looks like
Yeah,
it does.
it's just like a big white stripe and I
The
just,
wood trim?
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, the wood trim goes all the way around the
And the
building.
gable has a big,
Correct.
Jackie, is it possible to get the picture
Yeah.
of the surrounding buildings?
yeah, again,
To see,
it's a great idea.
I'm with you. I think a different
Breaking it up.
color will help, for sure.
you could add, but
The change.
that's what I was gonna show you, like the houses across. Ooh. Yep.
Oh,
that was-
yeah.
That was it.
I just think it.
Okay.
Because it's a lot better.
There you go.
So the houses across have, even the
Mhm.
commercial buildings have a mix of
Mhm.
colors.
Mhm. It's just more pleasing to the eye in general and to design, like to
Mhm.
have a third color that makes it more interesting. It doesn't look like somebody just was like, I had a can of white paint and I'm going to throw it up here because I had a can of white
Okay.
paint.
Kind of like, for instance, the UPS store here, it looks like they have
Mhm.
3 different colors.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I like the blue on the house across the street. The
Mhm.
light blue shutters.
Yeah.
I don't mind the door being white only because in the how it stands now,
Yeah.
it's difficult to see the entrance because you have such a big
Yeah. It goes with
shadowy
back to the trim
overhang.
and the window trim is white.
Yeah.
Right.
I just think having, a different color, if everything is white, it's just not interesting. And I think it's like changing the lighting, instead of painting the shutters white, paint a different color.
But if the shutters are a different color, the shutters and the door should be the same color, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
No, that's when you could.
So
technically
this
bring
door
the
that's
fourth
in the
color.
very front that's dark is,
It's going to be white,
That's
right?
the, and they've already ordered it. Not that that means I'm just
Okay.
bringing that up, so.
No, but it does, it will make it more viewable because
because
this
now
is
you're going to have, see
difficult
that,
to
does
see.
it have
It's
a
very-
pattern
there's
or
a lot
is
of
it
shadow
open?
in
No,
there.
it's going to have the
Yes.
pattern. It's going to have probably pretty much the same design, but it's going to be white.
Yeah, it'll have all the, I think,
Is
that
the
doesn't show
rendering
it, does it?
that you gave us, is that this door?
Yes, that's pretty much the door. It's white, yes, in that rendering.
Okay.
Correct. I think we can definitely find a color for the shutters for sure. Is it something you want to see like a more, not a white, but more of a color between the brick and the white, something like that? Or you want something that's accent?
I think a contrast would be nice.
And darker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could
like a
even do a
charcoal
wood
or, I
stain.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to use the existing shutters
Oh, yeah.
though, we may just for cost.
Correct.
I'm trying to think of, because this has got a lot of gold in it.
Yeah, it's like yellow based.
Yeah, and if we're doing
I would
like,
do something.
And you've got,
you could also do
the
like
roof
navies.
is-
I mean, like you could do kind of a blue gray.
yeah, which would look pretty.
And it would set off the white nicely.
And I think it would match the area.
Yeah, I like the houses.
What color is the
across.
roof? It's like a light gray?
Yes.
Is it
correct.
standing seam?
It's standing seam
Yes.
roof, and we're not doing anything, just cleaning it.
Yeah.
Thinking the color of his jacket?
Like a shade.
Yeah, darker, maybe like a shirt or darker than a shirt. I just think it needs to go darker to contrast and
Okay.
complement this.
All right.
I think it would just be a nicer look and it
Sure.
would really set off that building better, I think.
How do you will you handle this? Because we can paint the building then, right, the brick color?
So for the building, they're okay with the, what do you call the?
Useful gray.
gray.
Useful gray.
So the only thing that they wanted you to consider is possibly repainting the shutters
Okay.
for a more contrast color, a little darker. So when we say darker, can we specify in all the colors, is it more of a blue tone, more of a gray,
I think you could do a charcoal gray.
charcoal gray? Okay, so.
I think that would, in that way, eventually, if you can change the lights, I would change them to black.
The
and
gooseneck light.
Yes.
Right in
Yes,
front.
the gooseneck
Okay.
lights.
We
and-
can paint those.
I mean,
So you could paint the same color.
yeah, you could paint
Yeah.
the same color. I think that would look really classy.
Okay.
It
Classic
looks
and
like
fun.
they are in 3 different elevations. You'll see in the southeast, you have 3 lights, northwest elevation, and the northeast elevation.
And actually, the one on the northwest was taken down because the signage for the back of the building wasn't approved. So that's why we had to take those. But everywhere else, yes,
Okay.
we have them.
Okay. Okay, so is this a recommendation? Like, how do we? Okay.
Yes, so recommendation to Community Development Director for approval with the following notes or conditions.
Okay.
Of course, the director will weigh in on that as well.
If we say a charcoal color, do they have to come back to us with the exact color or? it's-
No.
Okay.
So once you made the recommendation, then we'll just put it on record and
Okay.
approval letter with.
I would just be careful because this is really warm. It has a lot of earth and gold tones to stick with the
Okay.
charcoal that's very warm.
Yes.
Okay.
And not like a blue gray, it's gonna clash.
Okay.
So it needs to be like a earthy, warm charcoal.
Absolutely.
And put that in your recommendation if you're ready.
Earthy, warm charcoal. There we go.
What about,
Thank you so much.
like, what is that color? Can't remember. It's not iron,
Iron ore.
iron ore.
I was thinking that might be a
Or
little-
is it, or isn't there one with fox in it?
Let's not recommend a specific
Right.
color.
Yeah, yeah.
But no,
because
but those are on the warmer
Especially if you don't
side.
have them
Yeah,
look
and
at
I
it
would
side
want
by
to
side.
like
Yeah.
see it and he can do that.
Yes. Okay, well, let's make a motion.
All right,
Okay.
I'll make a motion to recommend 7B to the, who did we say,
Community
Director?
Development
Community
Director.
Development Director, and recommend a warm charcoal color for the shutters and the gooseneck lights.
Gooseneck lights will be the same color as the shutter, just to clarify. Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion to recommend 7A to the Community Development Director with the recommendation of changing the shutters to a warm the shutters and the gooseneck lighting to a warm charcoal color. All those in favor, raise your hand. Okay, that is approved.
And we approve the paint color, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, when we approved the
This item.
7B.
Okay.
We approved that with the recommendations.
Gotcha.
All right. So, whew. All right. So now we are into new business or old, wait, sorry.
That's correct.
New business. Do we have any new business? Do
With none.
we have any old business?
None.
Okay. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, we've got a motion to adjourn. All those in favor, raise your hands. All right, this meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.